What's going on, team? Welcome back yet again to your home of rugby, where we wrap up this little mini-series having a look at the 4 pools for the Rugby World Cup. Now, if you've been to school enough times, you'll know that we've gone A, B, C already, and now it's time to go have a look at pool letter. Oh no, I didn't go to school myself. Pool letter D. We have, of course, a couple of guests joining us to have a look at this pool as well. But before we get into that, make sure you tune in to the channel and have a look at all the amazing stuff we've got going on. We're going to be streaming during the opening game of the Rugby World Cup and plenty of other games throughout each and every day. We're going to have daily previews going up on behindthepost.com as well. And we're going to have videos all the time for you to watch. So make sure to keep up to date with what's going on around the channel. And, of course, sign up to our SuperBru League, and I'll try and better everyone who has been on the channel previewing these pools and see if you are the ultimate SuperBru picker for the Rugby World Cup. Let's meet today's guest for Pool D, and we're going to be saying hello yet again to Shane, having another look at his beloved Wallabies today. Shane, welcome along.
Yes, Australia, we love you. And it's good to be on the program, Steve. We'll see how we can analyse the ever-struggling Wallabies.
And, of course, he's going to have a sort of South African, sort of Australian, sort of a bit of an everything fan. It is Brett Hartley back again, still wearing a Springboks shirt, so hopefully we'll be putting the boot into the Wallabies. Welcome back, Brett.
No, thanks for having me, man. I sound a lot more Australian than South African these days, but so yeah, Australia definitely my second team, so wouldn't be putting too many boots into them today, I don't think.
Well, that's sort of shame. I was hoping we'd have a Uruguay Fiji 1-2 and Pool D from one of you guys here today, but sadly not. But let's kick things underway. Have a look at, of course, the top-seeded team in Pool D, which is the Wallabies. And fill us in, Shane. I mean, you've been through a torrid time of Super Rugby following these Wallabies, following your Super Rugby sides, following everything about Australian rugby. Do you see a little bit of a light coming through the Rugby World Cup? Are you feeling confident and resurgent about your Wallabies in 2019?
Oh, look, yeah. It's always nice when you beat the All Blacks in a World Cup year, or any year for that matter, which we did once, and then the reality check came in Auckland, as it always does. I think, look, the Wallabies haven't been convincing, even in their wins against Argentina and 2 weeks ago against Samoa. They just didn't quite have something. Something was missing, and it's going to come down to how they attack and how they defend. Now, the Wallabies, mind you, defend okay most games. It's going to be how they keep the consistency in attack, particularly if you get some forward momentum, and the Wallabies go pretty fast at their line speed when they're in attack. They've just got to keep in constant variation with each other, and hopefully Foley and Co can keep to the speed, and we can score a few tries and get some good results on the board. So, look, it's going to be a very interesting time for the Wallabies, particularly against Wales. Fiji will be physical and they'll want to play some fast rugby. Uruguay and Georgia, hopefully we should get through those games with a bit more comfort. So let's see how we go.
A bit positive, but a bit hesitant. There's a typical Australian attitude to come into this one with. Brett, you've had a look at this team. Any big surprises or omissions you thought deserved to be in the places for the 31-man squad?
Is your flower? No. Look, it's pretty standard, really. Sort of what you expect with what they've been trying to do this year. I think they've really this year they're doing a lot of combination testing, and I think they sort of found in that Perth game sort of their ideal 15. I think. I've enjoyed watching James O'Connor at 13. It's not a position he's really played too much at test level, but I think it's a really good idea. They've always tried, the last few years, they've tried the 2 big centres in the midfield, and Karevi and Kurandrani, and I don't think it really works. I think the ball gets stuck in the midfield, doesn't really they can't really use their wings very well. So I think O'Connor in the midfield, in the outside centre, gives them still Karevi at 12, the big ball carrier, but it gives them some versatility. And I think they can definitely use their wings, guys like Corey Betty, a lot better, a lot more efficiently, which is good. Obviously, Nick White's been a big revelation this year as well, having left Australia for the last few years, and he's really had a good game in the Perth Test. I think he was the man of the match. So I think Nick White's looks like he's their 9 heading into the weekend, and Lila Fano at 10 as well, who's sort of emerged in the last 2 years as well. So I think it's really a standard team. Wasn't too many surprises for me, I don't think.
You brought up pretty much one of the two key positions I was going to look at about this Wallabies team. Lealiafano, Foley. I mean, a year ago, we'd have a look at the squad. If we were predicting the Wallabies, you'd said Bernard Foley's got this in the boot, in the bag. But Shane, Christian Lealiafano has come from nowhere. Foley's fallen off the face of the earth. And it seems like we're not going to see much of Bernard in big crunch games if it continues like that.
Well, I like Foley. It's rare a Queenslander says that about a New South Welshman, but Foley plays 1 or 2 good games, then is average for the 3rd or 4th, and that's the inconsistency. Lealiafano has stepped up his game, and also, while it mattered, it's a great rugby story. He's come back into Super Rugby and now the Wallabies. It's very inspirational, that story. O'Connor, yeah, look, it's good to see him back. The once wild child of Australian rugby, Genia, who I think is still pretty much a top-notch 9. And, of course, you've got Pocock, who is just a brilliant breakdown player. Hooper's starting to grow up. So look, and you've got reasonable forwards that on their day can be quite brilliant. But you know, it's all about performance. It's all about getting the skills right. We've dumped it on the coaches for the last few years. We've dumped it on the players. Now it's time for them to go out there and prove themselves, and it starts on Saturday afternoon.
Final point for the Wallabies, Brett. This one is especially just for you. The back row. The All Blacks talk all about their back row. They mix things up, change things. The dual sevens, I mean, never thought we'd see it in an All Black jersey, but we are. Pocock, Hooper, play together or split those two apart? How do you think the Wallabies are going to call this one for the World Cup?
Well, I think I saw a report today that they're going to be, that Hooper and Pocock are going to be playing at 6 and 7 with Naisarani at 8. Apparently, according to insiders, that's the way they're going right now. It worked the last World Cup. Hasn't
Scott
really...
Fardy was there too.
Yeah, exactly. It worked the last World Cup. Hasn't really worked too great there. I think, like Shane said, Scott Fardy is definitely an unsung hero, and he's been playing very, very well in Europe since he left as well. He probably should be in this World Cup squad. Naisarani, obviously being starting at the Western Force, I have sort of a special place in my heart. But the problem with starting those two guys in the back rows, you don't really have a line-out specialist in the back row, which is what Scott Fardy provided last World Cup. So Naisarani can be used as a jumper, but you don't really have a specialist jumper in that back row. So quite risky at high test level.
Yeah, you mentioned Scott Fardy had a mammoth World Cup 4 years ago, didn't he? He was huge for the Wallabies and a major part of why they were so successful as well. They're going to miss that, and you did right. Yeah, that line-out could be an issue for them. But that is the Wallabies. That is team number 1. We'll move on to the second side in Pool D, which will be Wales. Now, this was world number 1 a number of weeks ago. Now, not so lucky, but the Irish have taken over. I mean, build-up has been pretty damn good, hasn't it, Shane? I mean, 6 Nations, Grand Slam champions. They've done it all. A little bit of a blip, I think, as they held their hand back a lot against Ireland in those last 2 tests before the World Cup. But really, they've come into this and they've had a stellar year, haven't they?
Yeah, and I know they would have been partying hard at Cardiff when they did get that world number 1 ranking. And despite what we all think about the rankings and things like that, good on them for making that their own. And look, they won Six Nations undefeated. Gatlin, I think, has got them in a good mind space. I think this is a very good side all round. How far they go depends on how far they can score points more than defend, because they're a very good defensive side. So I'd be saying they'll get out of the group pretty easily. So, if they can beat the Wallabies, they can beat a few other sides, I'm sure. And good luck to them.
Now, they've had obviously a big injury blow in the build-up to the Rugby World Cup. Gareth Anscombe, who was a pretty integral part, although much of the fans were not too impressed before he actually brought them the trophy home. He's out of the World Cup, which to me feels like there's a bit of a hole now in that team. A lot of pressure goes straight back on to guys like Dan Biggar, and to a lesser extent to what you're going to expect from Reece Patchell. But the blow of Anscombe is certainly big for Wales.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Like you said, he had a huge Six Nations, and he's definitely this year has been one of the top 10s in the world. I think it goes back to Dan Biggar now. Obviously, he was quite an integral part of Wales's campaign 4 years ago. He built, I think, he really built his name after the last World Cup. I think with that strange kicking sort of technique that he does. I think a lot more people who aren't Welsh, who aren't Northern Hemisphere fans, are starting to take notice of Big. And he's been a bit quiet. Obviously, the rise of Anscombe has come up as well. So he's definitely got a big test of him. But Wales have a really, really strong team, and I'm guessing you'll probably touch on this later. But with their with what happened today with their attack coach being sent home, I think he's even more pressure on Biggar to really take the reins of this team and steer them to a World Cup.
Anything you want to add on Mr. Rob Howley going home there, Mr. betting on what's going to happen? Either is there. It's a bit of a shame, isn't it? It's another kind of blow, really, to what they'd expect to be a structure, something they'll consider to be there. But now he's gone. It's sort of going to change the game a bit for them, isn't it? Got an opinion either way on that?
Oh, I'm looking for a holiday if anyone wants an attack coach. Look, I'm not going to say too much because I don't know too much of the details, and it's not fair to go into specifics, I'm sure, until he answers the questions he needs to answer. But I loved Rob as a player. Loved watching him when I was a lot younger than what I am now. Yeah, he's obviously got to answer those questions, and he will in time.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out of that in the wash, I'd imagine, in the future. But that is Wales. I mean, going to be a tough team. I'm going to be interested to see what you guys think about who your 1-2 is going to be at the end of the video as well between those two. Maybe a bit different to what I'm thinking. We'll move on, though. Number 3, Georgia. Now, geez, Brett, Georgia's come a long way, and then they've kind of petered off a little bit. The Georgia of 4 years ago, expecting the same of what this Georgian of 2019 is going to be.
It's a bit hard to tell with a lot of these teams like Georgia. Obviously, they're a rugby playing nation. They love their rugby. They had a really good World Cup 4 years ago. It's a bit hard to tell. Obviously, I admit I don't religiously watch Georgia. I'll follow a few of the results here and there. So they don't really a team, not being the Six Nations, not being a really major rugby competition. I know they dominate that that Central European comp, but look, I think they're a mixed bag. That you could get. It depends what Georgia team turn up on the day, really, but they're definitely a team that sort of Japan sort of team in 2015 that really is capable of an upset of a major team, I think, and will definitely throw everything when they play the two big teams in their pool.
And of course, a big French influence on the side as well, in the Georgian side, but none more so than the out of retirement, returning Mr. almost iconic in Georgian rugby circles, Mamuka Gorgodze. Great to see him back, Shane, isn't it, in a Georgian jersey once again?
Yeah, look, Georgia have a lot of cult figure players that we all remember from 2015. So You know, it's always good when someone comes back, pulls on the boots, and wants to have another crack at it. So he'll do his country very proud.
Yeah, this is a Georgian team. I think the discussions have kind of gone away, haven't they, about the whole Six Nations thing with Georgia and pushing up to that higher level, which is a bit of a shame, but I think they could certainly cause a bit of trouble. It's going to be interesting, that bottom three, though, with Georgia, Fiji especially, and Uruguay at the bottom. We'll touch on a little bit about the Fijians. Shane, from your perspective, Fiji, first up for the Wallabies. How much of a little bit of a concern does this Fijian side cause you as a Wallabies fan?
Divided loyalties, actually, being Fiji Indian. So, obviously, I want to see the Wallabies win well. But I'd be really, nonetheless, tears of joy if Fiji do some good stuff at this World Cup. They play an exciting brand of rugby that'll be fast. They'll go for the tries. I think having the Drua in the NRC has been so beneficial because they're being able to play at a higher level in the Southern Hemisphere, and it gives some of those boys that are now playing for Fiji some real depth and some experience at a better competition. So, look, they'll be competitive, and I think that there'll be some exciting rugby, particularly when they play Georgia and Uruguay. I think look for the ball to be thrown around. Look for some real attacking rugby. Look for some big wingers to be knocking out the little fullbacks.
Yeah, they certainly have the ability, don't they?
It is exciting.
Yeah,
they certainly do.
You look through that team, and there are some fantastic players in there. I mean, guys that have torn up in the French leagues as well. Experience. I mean, league fan. Now, Shane, you're a league man. Semi Raraja, he's in the Fijian side. A phenomenal talent, X Factor, fantastic player. Of course, you've got Tui Sova, another guy who's really destroyed over in France for Lyon. They've got so many guys that can do big jobs for the Fijian side. You'd almost go as far as saying, Brett, a golden age of Fijian rugby. This is probably the best peak sort of condition of form we've seen from a Fijian side in quite some time.
Yeah, you could say that in terms of individual performance, but I think Fiji has always been a really, really big threat at World Cups, and they've shown that, and they've always been more or less competitive at every single World Cup they've participated in. And you certainly never write off any Pacific Island teams, especially Fiji, who's probably the premier Pacific Islands nation in terms of rugby right now. But yeah, no, they've got some quality players. Raja's a very, very good player. He's in my fantasy team, so I'm hoping he does well. They're definitely another team that can cause an upset. I think Wales and Australia especially really need to take them very, very seriously. And I think Australia and I think Wales will as well. And I think another thing, the advantage is they will be a lot more familiar with that sort of human type style of rugby, really slippery balls and rugby balls, that is. Very slippery rugby balls. Just that climate they play in. And I see Wales have been training with baby oil on their rugby balls to prepare for these conditions. I listened to Stephen Halls and June Mitchell rant on about this rugby balls versus balls thing today in the podcast, so it's in my head. June Mitchell loved it.
Of course he did.
But yeah, I think they do have an advantage in that sense, in that they come from a similar climate to what they face in Japan.
And they've been together for quite some time too. They were really right up there with Japan in the Pacific Nations Cup, which has been running for quite a bit of time now. So continuity's got to be there. This team's got to be ready to go. They're certainly going to be a danger, I think, in this pool against some pretty good sides as well. The team that possibly won't be a bit of a danger, as unfortunate as to say it, will be Uruguay. Now, the poor old Uruguayans, again, tough pool. It's pretty hard to see them causing too much issue here, Shane, is it, against... I mean, even the lower sides, like the Georgians and the Fijians, for their position, are very, very good sort of tier 2 sides, aren't they?
Yeah, look, the Uruguayans, I've got to give them credit. They've certainly experienced hands at coming into the World Cup, but results-wise, not so great. Great to see them back naturally, and the boys putting on the boots and having another crack at it. I'm probably not somebody that follows Uruguay religiously in terms of how they're going internationally, but look, they're there. You've got to play who's in front of you, and Uruguay bravely do that every World Cup, and they turn up, and it's just a matter of what the scoreline's going to be at the end of the night.
Yeah, they'll certainly give 110%. You can imagine, anyway, being at that sort of event. A lot of their players coming from the MLR in the States as well. It's been a bit of a big influence for them to get players with that professional experience, to get them out in those better sort of leagues. Going to be an improvement for the Uruguayans, in not only now but the future, having that professionalism going through their team from the States?
I think so. I think a lot of last World Cup people were a bit shocked to see that a lot of the Uruguayans weren't actually professionals. They had other jobs besides rugby. Is sort of going back to the sort of 1995. Those days where players weren't professionals. And I definitely have a lot of respect for Uruguay in that sense. But like you said, I think MLR is a very, very good initiative that's going on right now. It's definitely they're definitely putting professional rugby where professional rugby needs to be, giving these guys not only in the States but in South America and further North America, just a chance to play professional rugby, to earn some money for what they're good at. So I think it's going to, obviously, a team having more professionals in their midst is never going to hurt anyone, and it's only going to improve them. So just their experience is vital. But I think Uruguay is just going to enjoy every single moment of the World Cup, playing these big teams, getting some exposure, hopefully picking up a contract. Hopefully a few of them picking up a contract from bigger teams. So they'll definitely have a good World Cup. They'll enjoy it, and they'll play in good spirits.
You know what? It's quite interesting. Looking up recent results for the Uruguayan side, just see who they've been playing. And it was earlier this year, but at the start of 2019, they actually defeated Canada, 20 points to 17. They have defeated the USA, which was a bit of a surprise, which was 32-25. And they disposed of teams like Brazil, Russia. They lost to Namibia, which is a bit of a surprise. But still playing at a decent level, I think, which is kind of a bit surprising to me, to be up there with the USA, who we're considering to be probably a team who's going to be on the rise and could put up a bit of a shock. I think Fiji and Georgia and co are going to probably do well not to underestimate this Uruguayan side, which is probably going to track pretty well, I do think. So it'll be interesting to see how they do go in Pool D. But what's really going to be interesting is where you think these sides are going to finish. So, Shane, 1 to 5. Is it your heart on the line first? Are you going for your Wallabies to top the pool? How are they finishing?
Okay, I've gone with 1, Wales.
Oh.
2, the Wallabies. 3, Flying Fijians. They'll really entertain. I'm really looking forward to some great attacking rugby. 4 with Georgia, and 5 with Uruguay.
I'm surprised he's gone for Wales. How about yourself, Brett? Are you going to buck the trend? I thought it'd be the other way around, however. But who are you going with?
Look, I've got something written down, but I'm still not completely sure. So I've got Wales down at 1, similar to Shane. I've actually got exactly the same list as Shane, but I was just sort of in two minds. Wales obviously in very good form. They were number 1 in the world. I think the rankings are really stupid and they should be redone, but they were number 1 in the world. But at the same time, historically, Wales really don't match up well with the Wallabies. The last World Cup, obviously a loss. Really struggled to beat them even at home. Have a really poor record against Australia. For some reason, it's just something about the Wallabies that really gets under the Welsh skin. So it's definitely a big hoodoo for them to break, to be able to beat Australia. I think it'll really put them in good stead for the rest of the World Cup if they're able to do it. So right now I've got Wales finishing as top, but I think when it comes down to that Wales-Australia game, it's going to be a very, very interesting game because, like I said, Wales really do not match up well with Australia.
Interesting. Well, there you go. I've gone exactly the same as you guys as well. I thought we might have a bit of a mix-up as well. I did. It's a toss-up there. Top of the table was a real toss-up. like you say, the Wallabies could easily win that match, and it's going to be crucial for them too as to who does win that match, because when they go into those quarterfinals, of course, whoever does come second in the pool will face England, whereas the winner will face France, potentially, depending on who.
What are you talking about? England aren't making it out of the pool.
Well, if England make it out of the pool, I guess you guys didn't preview Pool C, but if England finishes, they do it top, France gets second, as predictedly through seedings. That's the way that's going to go. So either way, it's important, I guess, to get that result where you want to go against the lesser side or the pool winner. And I mean, who knows who's going to come out of Pool C? I mean, Argentina could easily do it. France could just capitulate in a big pile on the floor, as we know they do so well. But there we go. That is Pool D. We've all gone pretty similar on that one, which is a bit of a surprise. But that first game, well, no, not the first game. That game versus Australia and Wales is going to be the big matchup from that pool. That is us, though. We've done all 4 pools, all 4 of them complete, and we are ready to go for the Rugby World Cup. Any final thoughts you guys want to give on Pool D or any of the pools, in fact, just before we wrap up and head into the big dance starting very, very soon? Any final thoughts?
Enjoy the rugby. Get to your local pub, get some chicken wings and some chips in there, get a few drinks in there, and just enjoy the games. And even the smaller sides, they are there too. They have earned their right to be there. I know we talk about the big 4 or 5 nations, but everyone has earned their right to be at this Rugby World Cup and get out there, be a part of the spirit of rugby. It's going to be a great 6 weeks.
Indeed it is. Anything else, Brett, you want to add?
I just, it's sort of just a surreal feeling. This last 4 years is just flying by. It really does. 2015 really doesn't seem that long ago, and we're already here in 2019, and it feels like a long time coming, but it also doesn't at the same time. So just keen to watch some really quality rugby this weekend. Japan versus Russia should be a cracker on Friday, and obviously big day on Saturday with a lot of blockbuster test matches. So really looking forward to it.
It is indeed. It's about to get underway, so make sure you're all set and ready to go. There's heaps of action coming up on the channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow on what's going on around the channel. As always, big thanks to Brett for joining me, and a huge thanks to Shane for coming on the channel as well, sharing their thoughts on what you think. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and we will see you all very, very soon for rugby action from the World Cup. Until then, thanks for watching as always, and until next time, take care.